we like this idea of Dipper has this very like naive and forgivable but ultimately, you know, wrong idea about romance. He's got that first summer crush thing where he would die 1,000 deaths to have her feel the same way. And I think many people have an unrequited love. They know what that feeling is like. But in Dipper's mind, he has to convolute a perfect moment with her. He can't just let things happen.
Right.
And this idea that, oh, she likes Robbie and she got hit in the eye with this, like, in his mind, he needs to, I mean, it's sort of like Groundhog Day. He needs to
make the perfect day.
Make this perfect day because he's not perfect enough on his own. And for this reason, he does not deserve to get what he wants.
Yes.
Because his idea about the world and how it works should not be rewarded.
For this belated Valentine's Day special, we're going to do a storyline analysis for Gravity Falls that I think should help people who struggle with trying to find love nowadays. Even if it was a little overplayed, I really like the Dipper-Wendy crush arc in this show from the first season. It's actually one of the main reasons as to why Dipper's one of my favorite characters in the whole show. In fact, he is actually my favorite. And this show has a ton of lovable characters. Let's get started. Dipper wants to hang out with Wendy's dope-ass friends, one of which is exactly like how I was in high school, to gain their approval so that he can slide into her DMs. Unfortunately, he lies about being older than he is, shenanigans happen, and he has to come clean in order to save them from boomer ghosts by dressing up as a furry and dancing. It's really fucking funny, actually. This is to show that you shouldn't lie about yourself to look better than you actually are. Pretty basic. But the real good advice comes from the next episode of this arc. He creates clones of himself during a party at the Mystery Shack so that he can use his incredibly autistic social skills list to woo Wendy over because he doesn't know how to talk to her like a human being. Very relatable struggle. He's trying to force a scenario where she'll fall for him for life because he doesn't think that he alone is good enough for her. His self-consciousness causes him to stress out about the smaller possible things, so he tries to create a backup plan for everything until he bumps into her in the hallway and ends up talking to her. You know, like a normal person. The thing he said he couldn't do. Even though she does start flirting with her boyfriend TJ Miller at the end, even if he doesn't get what he wants in the end, he does learn that you should just be normal around people you like. Unfortunately, he has not fully unlearned the forced scenario issue just yet, but you know what I say? I say a loss is just a victory in the making. Every step is a step of progress. This is the part where the arc actually gets really interesting because the stakes get higher. Dipper steals a time machine from Justin Roiland and attempts to use save states to win a freaky animal stuffy for Wendy at a fair, but every time he fails, TJ Miller conveniently pops out of nowhere and asks her out like the douchebag that he is. Side note, I actually love the fact that he's just like always right there whenever she gets hit by Dipper's ball. No, sorry, I didn't mean it like that. Oh no. Oh, forget about being injured. Wendy should file a restraining order against this tight jeans wearing ass. Anyway, the only way Dipper actually does get what he wants is by using Mabel's help, which then costs her winning her piggy. Then they have a fight that sends them all throughout time and space and actually reveals Ford before he was even a thing. And then Mabel eventually guilts him by bashing her head in to make him change his mind and let the original timeline play out. Now, a lot of people think that this is abusive on her part because she's making him give up his chance with Wendy for her, but let me tell you something. He can't lose his chance if he never had one. As we'll discuss later, Wendy always loved him as a friend or little brother, but she never saw him as a potential boyfriend because with her age gap, that would be cancel culture worthy. Oh wait, she's a woman, never mind. So let's say, for the sake of argument, what if Dipper just ignored Mabel and decided to let the new timeline happen? Then what? Not only will he not get Wendy for the reasons that we just mentioned, but he also wouldn't have his twin sister, his best friend, in his life anymore. If anything, he actually doesn't lose anything from letting Wendy go because he wasn't getting anything in the first place. One more thing, I actually love... No, I don't love this, but I really fucking love how everyone uses Mabel as a toilet for the whole portal gag incident, even though Ford didn't tell her what it was, and for various other reasons that I've already discussed, but no one crucifies Dipper for potentially altering all of history just to get into the DMs of a girl much older than him. TJ Miller challenges Dipper to a fight after he accidentally breaks his phone on the hardest grass in the country, apparently, and Dipper enlists the help of a Ryu knockoff to scare him off. This is really funny, not only because Alex Hirsch clearly understands how to appeal to gamers, which is something that modern movies could learn a thing or two about, but it also is just because, like, TJ Miller is such a beta cuck that he's worried that a fucking 12-year-old is gonna steal his girlfriend who he's known since a while. Not much else to say here. Dipper learns to confront issues head on instead of hiding behind someone stronger. I mostly just want to point out that this episode helps establish that TJ Miller is actually a foil to Dipper. They're both super insecure, especially about Wendy, and are desperate for her approval, even if it means trying to force her to give them such. At least for now. Yeah, I actually think TJ Miller's a fucking dark reflection of Dipper, because Dipper's the whole thing is that he wants to cave to social pressure because he's trying desperately to prove that he's older than he actually is. TJ Miller also wants to do that because he's like the emo kid. A lot of people do that when they're teenagers. They want to do it to show how much cooler and edgier they are, and that's what he does. So he's basically like kind of the bad ending version of Dipper in the future. I'm pointing this out because I fucking love watching media and noticing like metaphorical like narrative foils and parallels to one another. It's just something my autistic brain fucking loves. This is arguably Dipper at his worst. Mabel and her friends want to go trick-or-treating in the Halloween special that they have in Gravity Falls because they love it so much. Halloween's so nice, they celebrate it twice. But Dipper tries to sneak away to join Wendy and TJ Miller at a party before a monster called the Summerween Trickster eats them all. This is actually one of the worst actions that he takes in his fruitless quest for Wendy's DMs because he almost gets his own sister, her friends, and Seuss, the most important one of them all, killed because he wants to prove that he's too old for Halloween. This episode parallels the final episodes, by the way, in case you didn't know. Through this journey, Dipper once again has to reevaluate what he wants and make up to Mabel, which he eventually ends up scoring more time with Wendy anyway. Once again, his so-called sacrifice actually got him what he wanted in the end. Somewhat. I'm just pointing that out because a lot of people seem to act like, oh, Dipper sacrifices his time with Wendy for Mabel, and it's like, again, he literally had no chance with her to begin with, so not much to say here. It's basically just more of the same for Dipper's side of the conflict, though Mr. Poolcheck is one of the funniest minor characters and he deserved a shout out. Alright, we finally reached the climax of our topic. Sure, Into the Bunker officially ended Dipper's Wendy crush, but this episode was the real point of no return for me. Dipper and Grunkle Stan search for proof that TJ Miller is brainwashing Robbie. Oh my god! The best way to describe the situation is to listen to this clip from Innuendo Studios on their Dr. Horrible video.
Billy befriends her at the exact moment she's no longer on the market and obsesses over defeating his arch nemesis in order to win her affections. Which is a totally dipshit thing to do, because if he could open his eyes for 5 seconds, he could see this relationship is going to last about a month at most, that Penny has genuine feelings for him, and if he could just sit tight, he'd probably get everything he wants, and even if not, she's still a positive addition to his life as a friend.
Hi, Evan from the future here. I just wanted to describe what happens more in detail with this, because I actually glossed over it despite it being the major turning point of Dipper's character arc with Wendy. So what happens is Dipper and Grunkle Stan eventually do find out that by playing the stupid CD backwards that Robbie's song is actually you are under my control, your mind is mine, and then they go interrupt his date with Wendy, and then Wendy, upon realizing that he's a massive fraud, decides to break up with him right then and there, and then Dipper, being incredibly socially conscious, decides to, 10 seconds afterwards, ask her if she wants to go bowling with him and Stan, and then she scolds him and Robbie, saying that men suck and you guys just care about yourselves and you should both fuck off. And the reason I didn't include this was because it hits a little too hard, and as an autistic person, I can't really handle crying that much. Anyway, back to you, Evan from the past. It doesn't end well, just to say the least. Though TJ Miller definitely got the worst end, Dipper didn't exactly get the good ending either in this episode. This was the final push that Dipper needed to realize that his mentality was wrong. He finally learns that you can't force someone to love you, but you can become someone worthy of love, which he helps teach Gideon in the finale. Dipper, Mabel, Seuss, and Wendy investigate a secret underground bunker to search for the author of the journals, and Mabel urges him to express his feelings for Wendy, though he is mostly moved on and just wants to remain as friends. Through some shenanigans involving Luke Skywalker, Dipper does end up confessing, and he and Wendy have a nice little talk about it. She expresses how flattered she is by this, but that she's too old for him, which is something that even Dipper acknowledged in the double clone episode. However, she does love him platonically enough that she would literally kill herself if they ever stop being friends. If you don't believe me, just listen.
I have more fun with you than, practically anybody else. And if you ever stop being my friend, I would, throw myself into the bottomless pit.
Even though things didn't go his way, Dipper's friendship with Wendy did grow stronger, and he learned how to become a better man. It was a bittersweet ending for him, though I think it was honestly just a good ending, whether or not he really believes it so. And then there's Roadside Attraction. Okay, so in this episode, Grunkle Stan is taking Mabel, her friends, and Dipper, and Seuss, I guess, on a little road trip just to, give them some fun more times. And during this time, it's revealed that Dipper is still upset over Wendy, even though he was adamant about moving on. Okay. Except, even if this episode isn't great overall, it does still have some things that I think are really interesting to learn. The interesting thing is that it's another episode where Grunkle Stan actually tries to help Dipper for once, in a way other than being shitty to him, where he actually gives advice to him. Unfortunately, it's pickup artistry. He teaches him how to be a fucking Sigma male, and it's just really kind of funny. Although, if you get past the fact that it's Grunkle Stan doing it, he actually does kind of give some good advice. He basically says, "Listen, kid, you gotta be 1, confident, 2, funny, and 3, I don't know what else. You just gotta be the other 2, and women will be all over you. I would know because I am the absolute chick magnet myself." Yeah, so then Dipper takes his advice, and he basically becomes a harem protagonist if they actually had personality. Unfortunately, it doesn't end well for him either because he gets Candy to like him on accident, and then the other girls end up cornering him at one point. And he has to confess, and yeah. You should actually be confident when talking to women. You should treat them like humans, and you should, respect their boundaries, and if you can, you should also try to be a little funny. Though, most of the time, you gotta actually be funny on your own. That's just an important lesson to learn, if nothing else. But remember, the most important crime above all else in this episode is that they left my man Seuss behind! You son of a bitch! You will suffer the wrath of Seuss! Okay, I'm done. Let's move on. Pacifica Northwest has been nothing but an unlikable bitch to him and his sister, especially his sister. I don't think she even knew that he existed before this episode. She has a stick up her ass the size of the fucking American flag. Oh my god, girl, I'm so much better than you because my family has a bunch of green pieces of paper with faces on them that us as humans decided have value because we're stupid. But then it's revealed in this episode that the reason that she turned out this way is because her parents are the real shitheads who think that individuality sucks unless it's by their way. So basically no way at all. They are forced to confront the crimes of their ancestor because this dude, who is definitely not an ancestor of Wendy, is trying to turn everyone into wooden statues. So they have to enlist the help of Dipper, who calls Pacifica the worst to her face, which is really fucking funny. And if he had actually given an indication of being into her like he was with Wendy, is something he would have never done. But the fact that he doesn't give a shit about her makes it all the more easy to do it. Unlike Dipper in most episodes, he actually acts super confident around her and seems to stand up for himself. And it's not even like her necessarily being entirely mean. It just feels more like kind of like snarky, sassy banter between the two. And this isn't out of character because, again, Dipper has no reason to try and impress someone like Pacifica, who's done nothing but belittle and insult him and his family the entire time they've known each other. And like Pacifica feels like kind of flabbergasted but secretly charmed by the fact that someone is actually standing up to her and like joking around with her and poking fun at her. Oh my god, a girl likes Dipper? Not out of pity? Whoa, look at me, now I am the true Sigma male. Oh wait, Sigma males don't exist. They had to be invented because Dipper invented them. Not only does Pacifica have a character arc and go from one of the most hated characters to basically one of the most loved characters, but she and Dipper have a beautiful friendship that is canon, actually, to be a romantic relationship in the Gravity Falls Lost Legends. It's canon, bitches! We won! Woo! We're finally at the climax of her story. The real climax. Just in case anyone's not up to speed with the series, oh my god, spoilers by the way, I just want to express how we got to this point. Mabel trusts Stan when he's building the portal, Ford comes back, their rivalry reignites, Dipper becomes his biggest fanboy, the Mabel haters 9/11 happens, and thus Weirdmageddon is here. Dipper and Wendy are escaping from Gideon during Weirdmageddon. She is there for him when he needs her most, and she's able to rekindle his desire to like make things right. It shows that like even though like he can't be with her, Wendy still has a very positive influence on his life as a friend and potential big sister figure. So then when it looks like they're about to like get caught by Gideon and his goons, the great and mighty Zeus comes down to strike them all to hell! Just kidding, I wish. Gideon brags about how Mabel is gonna be all his. Actually, I should briefly talk about that as well. Gideon is also kind of like a dark reflection of Dipper in the way that, like, he is, well, super young and hitting on someone older than him who is clearly, flattered, but also incredibly, like, just not really feeling it. Except, unlike Wendy, Mabel keeps trying to ease her way out of it, but Gideon, being an obsessive, clingy piece of shit, he doesn't let her. Dipper, being a very good brother, actually tries to tell him off, but it doesn't work, and he ends up almost getting scissored to death, and then Mabel has to tell him in person to stop, which is a really strong moment for her, and it's just really good. And I point to moments like this whenever someone is like, guys, Mabel is a shitty sister. I'm like, come on, dude, she literally, like, saved Dipper's life numerous times, alright? Come the fuck on. But then again, what do I expect from people who listen to the word of a fucking pedophile? So yeah, Dipper is a foil to Gideon because they both have the journal, and they're both obsessed with a girl who's older than them and doesn't feel the same way. And so Dipper ends up really pulling through every single thing that he's learned about relationships and trying to interact with someone you like by telling Gideon basically what he already learned. And through this, he appeals to Gideon's humanity and is able to get him to switch sides, which some people argue is a little too fast-paced, but I also think, like, I agree. And then we have one more part to this story. So they go inside Mabel's bubble, and she's like, I don't want to leave because it's perfect, and you guys should stay here too. Guys, she literally wants them to stay with her as well. She's so selfish. Dipper refuses to, like, go into the door and see what is on the other side. It would have been a deleted scene with him and Ford going on adventures. And then Wendy comes out and follows him, and she kind of sort of starts, like, she starts, like, jerking him off about how, you know, if only you were as old as me, or I was as young as you, only then, you know, we should go to Mabel and talk about getting an age change. Wouldn't that be so cool? And it seems like very, very out of character for all intents and purposes, except Dipper is so used to not getting what he wants with her that seeming like he actually is just obviously not true. Which is kind of sad when I put it like that, but it ends up working because it turns out that she was actually a bunch of disgusting insects. And that's because, like, Dipper has fully accepted that this is not going to happen, and so he shouldn't try to make it. And I think that's the true ending to his arc, if anything else. Like, Dipper realizing that he should just maintain a friendship with someone he likes if they don't like him back, and that he should pursue someone who actually does like him and become someone more worthy and respectful of women. And yeah, that's about it. So, this entire character arc was very ahead of its time. Even now, there are still so many young men who struggle with interacting with women, from talking to them to respecting them as fellow human beings. The male loneliness problem is such an epidemic, you can literally get rich by running podcasts where you teach teenagers how to become Sigma males. You know, if I was ever in need of more money, maybe I should. Moving on, my point is, many men still have the same issue that Dipper Pines faced during the majority of Season 1, and even throughout Season 2. So, my advice is, if you want actual dating advice, the only Sigma male you should listen to is Alex Hirsch, and you should watch Gravity Falls. Thanks for watching, and have a great day. Alright, seems pretty good. Let's get started. Okay. For this belated Valentine's Day special, we're gonna oh my god, I'm an idiot. Okay, nope. Okay, let's try that again. For this belated Valentine's Day special, we're gonna talk about a storyline analysis. Fuck. God damn it. Okay, episode 9, Time Traveler's Pig. This is the part where the arc actually gets really interesting. Dipper steals a time machine from this guy, and then attempts to use save states to win a freaky animal stuffy for Wendy at a fair. Every time he fails, TJ Miller comforts her and asks her out, fuck, god damn it. Stupid fucking tight ass motherfucker. God damn it. Even in my takes, he's completely ruining it. Robbie just ruins everything. Okay, so the last two parts to our actual story are basically the last two episodes of Weirdmageddon. So, what I meant was the first two episodes of Weirdmageddon. So, in this episode, the first one, Dipper has basically lost everything. He has lost Ford, he's lost Mabel, he's lost the Mystery Shack, he's lost the journals, and he's lost his wits. He has basically nothing left. Although, speaking of nothing left, I actually should talk about another thing. Fuck. Okay, never mind. Nope, we gotta do this again. My stupid ass forgot. Hi, Evan from the future here. I didn't really talk about this in my stupid computer.